She was spending her days stopping the practice of female genital mutilation. She had been cut as a girl, and she was walking through the Rift Valley for many years with a box that had a female torso in it, and the torso had a vagina and vagina replacement parts, and she was teaching girls why they shouldn't be cut, and she created an alternative ritual where girls came of age, they learned to dance, they learned to sing, they learned about their bodies and their health, and they weren't cut. And when I met Agnes, she had saved 1,500 girls from being cut. And we asked her what she wanted, and she said, if you got me a Jeep, I could get around a lot faster. So we bought her a Jeep, and in that year, she saved 4,500 girls. And then we said, what else could we do for you? And she said, Eve, if you got me a place, if you gave me money, I could build a house, and girls could run away, and they wouldn't be cut, and they could go to school, and they wouldn't be sold, and they wouldn't be married off to men who were 50 years older than them. And 10 years ago, Agnes opened the first safe house for girls in Kenya. And over the years, I have to tell you, she has saved hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of girls. But I want to tell you something amazing. When Agnes started, she was reviled by her community. Even though she was a Maasai and she was with them in their tradition, she was breaking and changing the tradition. But Agnes knew that girls shouldn't be cut, and they needed to be educated, and they needed to be free, and she kept going in a delicate, loving, intricate, surgical kind of way. And she would work with all the Maasai every day, and she would talk to them. And what eventually happened is she began to change them through love. Then she got elected to be deputy mayor because they loved her so much. And this year, Agnes is now running for parliament. She is running for parliament. And I think she's going to win, and I think she's going to usher in a new time, just like the women did in the European Parliament, and just like everyone in this room is doing every day on the front lines. I want to close by talking, before I get to the very end, I want to close and just talk about Congo for a minute, because I can't not talk about Congo. Because I've spent the last years in the Congo, and the Congo changed my life, it shattered my life, it gave me a life, and it actually radicalized me in a way I had never been radicalized. I've been in many countries in the world. I've been in the rape mines of the world for many years. I spend my life traveling to places like Bosnia and Haiti and Congo and Kosovo and Afghanistan, and I've heard pretty horrible stories, and I've seen pretty horrible things. But when I got to the Congo, I finally understood what it would look like if the patriarchs had their way, if the colonists had their way, if the racists had their way, if the capitalists had their way, if they all had their way and it all came together and it actually was practiced on the bodies of women. I have never witnessed any of the horrors I have seen and heard in the Congo. We're talking about a place where 6 million people have died in the last 13 years, where hundreds of thousands of bodies of women have been raped asunder and tortured. We're talking about babies, 9-month-old babies raped. We're talking about 8-year-old girls. We're talking about 80-year-old women's bodies being raped apart and destroyed. And when I went to the Congo, something in me, to be honest, was shattered. I didn't know if I wanted to live anymore, to be honest. I didn't know if I wanted to live in a world where people could do that kind of thing, where the history of colonialism and the exploitation of minerals and mines that gets exported to the West so we can all have our luxuries could be practiced on the bodies of women, which, by the way, will become a practice worldwide if we all do not absolutely and totally with our beings refuse it. And I made a commitment there that VDay would give and devote itself to the Congo, because if we didn't change what was happening and support the women there to change it, we would actually be allowing it to spread, and we would see the end of civilization. And for 6 years, we have been in the Congo, and I have been privileged, honored, moved, and changed by the fierce, loving generosity of the women of Congo. The women who have suffered more in terms of poverty, in terms of violence, in terms of abuse, in terms of neglect, and yet they rise up every morning and love their children and feed their families and give what they have to the people around them. And the women decided what they wanted more than anything was to start a campaign. And for years, we started a campaign where women actually trained and educated and activated by telling their stories and breaking silence and having marches and demonstrations. And then they decided that what they wanted was to open a place called the City of Joy. And I'm so proud that women actually built the City of Joy with their own hands, with men. It's the first time construction women ever worked in the Congo. And I would arrive at the site, and the women literally would be dancing with bricks through the City of Joy building. We opened it a year and a half ago, and I was there. It's at the graduation in January, where this V season began. It's a place where 90 women survivors come for 6 months. They are trained in literacy, in self-defense, in therapy that involves dancing and trauma healing and telling your story. And they learn, technology support and skills and communication. And there is agriculture, and there are goats, and there are sheep, and it's the most beautiful place I've ever been in my life, and there is more joy there than any place I've ever been. And at the graduation, I tell this story because people always tell us things aren't possible, right? It's not possible to end violence. It's not possible to fill Madison Square Garden with 18,000 screaming vaginas. It's not possible to build in a war zone. It's not possible for women to rise up and finally open the window and break through and never, ever, ever let that window shut again. Well, I'm here to tell you it is possible. Because I have seen the women of Congo who arrived 6 months earlier, who came with bullet holes in their heads, who came with missing reproductive parts, who had nightmares every night and would wake up screaming, who were so traumatized, some of them didn't know how to speak for the first 2 months that they were there. I watched those women stand on stage after 6 months and do self-defense moves and speak poetry they had memorized in English from Swahili and talked to the governor who was sitting in front of them about the fact that rape had to end, and they spoke better than any prime minister I've ever seen. And they have now gone back to their communities, and they are spreading the message, holding meetings, building businesses, changing their lives, creating a revolution that I predict to you in 5 years will rise up and direct us all in another direction. And what they have taught me is that there is nothing we cannot do if we do it together. There is nothing we cannot do if we don't do it in community, if we do it in love, if we do it in joy, if we do it in the belief that all of us are doing our best and we trust in each other that we're doing our best. I want to close by saying that there's a big miracle coming, and you're all going to be part of it. And it's going to happen on February 14th, 2013. V-Day is calling forth our biggest action yet. When we started this movement 15 years ago, our job was to go out of business. Every year I tell my very small team, this should be your last year, so plan to go on unemployment soon. Because I don't want us to be in the business of ending violence against women forever. It's 15 years later, and guess what? The violence is still here. We have all got to make a decision whether we are going to escalate and amplify our efforts and be really, really bold now, so that we never let these patriarchs push us back or turn us down or reverse us or undermine us or make us feel bad about who we are ever again. So we are calling forth the 1 billion women, that is the number of women who will be beaten or raped in their lifetime, that's a UN statistic, the 1 billion women on the planet who have been raped or beaten, and all the men and women who love them, to walk out of their jobs, to walk out of their schools, to walk out of their homes on February 14th with their posse and to find a place to dance. It will be the biggest global action we have ever done, and everybody in this room needs to be with us. And will you all, I'm asking you right now, commit to finding 100 people to dance with you? We need to dance to shake off the violence, to dance to show our numbers and solidarity and our creative power. We need to dance to show our outrage and our grief and our love, to dance to show we are here and we are not going away. Let us show our numbers, our size, our power, our solidarity, our spirit, and in the name of Lucretia Mott, let us ignite the divine light within each of us, the light that compels us to dance rather than kill, the light that urges us to rise rather than give up our voices and dreams, the light that illuminates the path so that our sisters and brothers can find a way out of the darkness, whether it be the darkness of poverty or self-hatred or violence or fear. The light that is mischievous and bold and needs to be much more misbehaved and pushes the edge. The light that is going to push us through the window, finally, for equality and liberation once and for all. That light that is made in our bodies, dancing and dancing. And I really promise you that if we can get 1 billion women, the world will change. It will change. I was in Sydney and the Aboriginal women are dancing. The women in Kauai are going to be dancing the hula. The women in Philippines are already organizing all over the planet every day. We're getting unbelievable posses of women writing in to say what they'll be dancing to. So I urge you to join us. I want to close tonight, and I want to do this for my friend Pam Schiffman, who spoke here last year. And I want to do this tonight for all the women in this room and men who got up this morning and did what you did because you actually believe and know that when women are free, all of us are going to be free. And I want to urge each of you to not be so concerned about being liked. It's scary not to be liked because we're trained deeply in our souls to be liked. We're trained that if we're good and behave, people will like us, but it only gets us so far. I think it's much more important to be admired. And admired people actually piss people off. So I'm going to encourage you to piss people off. I'm going to encourage you to be bolder. And when you hear people say things you disagree with, to disagree right there. I'm going to encourage you to not let people walk over your beliefs and walk over your power and walk over your rights, but to stand up and be bolder. And so in the name of that, I'm going to read a new piece that's from Emotional Creature called Refuser. From the Lebanese mountains to the Kenyan village of Eldoret, we are practicing self-defense. First in karate, tai chi, judo, and kung fu, we are no longer surrendering to our fate. Now we are the ones who walk our girlfriends home from school, and we don't do it with macho, we do it with cool. Our mothers are the pink sari gang, fighting off the drunken men with rose-pointed fingers and sticks in Uttar Pradesh. The Peshmerga women in the Kurdish mountains with barrettes in their hair and AK-47s instead of pocketbooks. We are not waiting anymore to be taken or retaken. We are the Liberian women sitting in the African sun blockading the exits till the men figure it out. We are the Nigerian women, babies strapped to our backs, occupying the oil terminals of Chevron. We are the women of Kerala who refuse to let Coca-Cola privatize our water. We are Cindy Sheen showing up in Crawford without a plan. We are all those who forfeited husbands, boyfriends, and dates because we were married to our mission. And we know love comes from all directions and in many forms. We are Malala Joya, who spoke back to the Afghan lawyer Jirga and called them raping warlords, even though they kept trying to blow up her house. And we are Zoya, whose radical mother was shot dead when she was only a child, so she was fed on revolution, which is stronger than milk. And we are the ones who kept and loved our babies, even though they have the faces of our rapists. We are the girls who stopped cutting ourselves to release the pain, and we are the girls who refuse to have our clitoris cut and give up our pleasure. We are Rachel Corrie, who wouldn't move away from the Israeli tank, Aung San Suu Kyi, who waited and now she is free from her room, Anne Frank, who survives because she wrote down her story. We are Netta Seltani, gunned down by a sniper in the streets of Tehran, and Asma Mahfouz, who twittered revolution. And we are Margaret Sanger, who secured our bodies and our future. We are the women riding the high seas to offer women abortions on ships, and we are the women documenting the atrocities in stadiums with burqas, with cameras underneath our burqas. We are 17 and living for a year in a tree and laying down in the forest to protect wild oaks, and we are out at sea interrupting the whale murders. We are freegans, vegans, trannies, but mainly we are refusers. We don't accept your world, your war, your rules. We don't accept your cruelty and unkindness. We don't believe some need to suffer for others to survive, or that there isn't enough to go around, or that corporations are the best and only economic arrangement, and we don't hate boys, okay? That's another bullshit story. We are refusers, but we crave kissing. We don't want to do anything before we're ready, but it could be sooner than you think, and we get to decide. And we are not afraid of what is pulsing through us. It makes us alive. Don't deny us, criticize us, infantilize us. We don't accept checkpoints, blockades, air raids. We are obsessed with learning. From the barren tsunami beaches of Sri Lanka to the desolate and smelly remains of the lower ninth, we want school, we want school, we want school. We know if you plan too long, nothing happens, and most everything is found in the action. And instinctively, we get that the scariest thing isn't dying, but not trying at all. And when we finally have our voice and come together, when we let ourselves gather the knowledge, when we stop turning on each other, but direct our energy towards what matters, when we stop worrying about our skinny-ass stomachs or too frizzy hair or fat thighs, when we stop caring about pleasing and making everyone so incredibly happy, we got the power. If Janis Joplin was nominated the ugliest man on her campus, and they sent Angela Davis to jail, if Simone Weil had manly virtues and Joan of Arc was hysterical, if Bella Abzug was eminently obnoxious and Ellen Johnson Sirleaf is considered scary, if Arundhati Roy is totally intimidating and Rigoberto Menchú is pathologically intense, call us hysterical then. Fanatical, eccentric, delusional, intimidating, eminently obnoxious, militant, bitch, freak, tattoo me witch. Give us our broomsticks and potions on the stove, because we are the girls who aren't afraid to cook. Thank you very much.